Now, you don't need me to tell you that the Oscars haven't exactly covered themselves in glory or success in recent years, and it's not hard to see why. In a time of global pandemics, economic hardship, political division, and war in Eastern Europe, the idea of watching a bunch of privileged, self-righteous, out-of-touch multimillionaires sniffing each other's farts, making unfunny jokes, pretending they have even a tenuous grasp of global politics, and lecturing the rest of us plebs on how we have to do better, is about as appealing as spending the evening watching Amy Schumer single-handedly reinforcing the stereotype that women don't know how to be fucking funny. Oh, Jesus wept. In fact, Ricky Gervais pretty much dropped a tactical nuke on the whole corrupt, ridiculous enterprise a couple of years ago, with a speech that pretty much every normal person in the world applauded, and every person in Hollywood carefully ignored. So I think it's fair to assume that rather than stay up until stupid o'clock in the morning to watch an awards show that I couldn't give less of a shit about if it was displayed in fucking binary code, I was instead safely tucked up in bed with a cup of cocoa and the teddy bear from my Doctor Who analogy. But while the drinkers slept, this momentous event occurred.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
I'm going to, okay?
Damn man, talk about a punchy comeback. The funny thing is that it all began pretty innocuously. Chris Rock was on stage to present the Best Documentary Award, which I'm sure everyone was eagerly awaiting to be over and done with so they could get to the more interesting stuff. Anyway, Chris started his set with a bunch of fairly bland, inoffensive jokes, the kind of thing that Hollywood loves because it doesn't actually make fun of them. But then his attention came to rest on Jada Pinkett Smith, and that's when he hit her with this humdinger.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. Alright?
Oh wow, referencing a movie that came out in the late 1990s. Not exactly Mr. Current Affairs, but whatever. The joke was clearly a reference to her shaved head, because apparently she's been suffering from a touch of alopecia recently. Tough break indeed, and not the sort of thing that you would generally make fun of. But hey, it's an awards ceremony, and he's a professional comedian, so it's not exactly outside the realms of possibility either. And it's interesting because you can see that Will Smith is laughing along with a joke that he clearly doesn't understand, and it's not until his wife explains it to him that the penny drops and the smile fades. And in that moment, Chris knew he'd fucked up. Now, I've got to be honest, when most people saw Will Smith take to the stage, they were probably expecting him to goof around with Chris a little bit, maybe drop a few insults in return, and tactfully defuse the situation while also standing up for his wife. I mean, Will Smith seems like a pretty chill guy, so it doesn't seem unreasonable. At worst, they figured he might take the mic off him and demand an apology. An awkward scene to be sure, but the kind of unscripted fuck-up that usually goes hand in hand with live events, booze, and egos. A bit like when Patrick Stewart called out James Corden for being a complete fucking bellend.
When the presenters are up here and when the recipients are receiving their awards, don't stand at the back of the stage with your hands in your pockets, looking around as though you wished you were anywhere but here.
Oh!
But nah, Will had other ideas. I mean, you've got to admire the single-minded determination on display here. He knows exactly what he's about to do, and he's not fucking around.
Oh, wow!
He doesn't even bother to say anything once it's over. He just heads back to his seat and plonks his arse down again. Job done, mission accomplished.
2 seconds later.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
Oh shit, he's going for it again. You've got to love how Chris is desperately scrambling to defuse the situation, but Will's having none of it. This is the face of a man who's got producers screaming into his earpiece, who's just been smacked in front of millions of people by an A-list actor, and who basically doesn't know what the fuck he's meant to say or do now. I mean, you've got to give some credit to the guy for keeping his composure. Most people would have wilted like a wet lettuce in a situation like this, but somehow Chris manages to steer things back on track. And so ends probably the only noteworthy moment of the entire 2022 Academy Awards ceremony. I mean, this one punch has basically done what no cringeworthy political pandering or pointless diversity quota has managed to accomplish in the past 5 years. It's made people finally talk about the Oscars again. You know, it's actually kind of interesting seeing the reactions on social media this morning, because everyone seems to be holding fire and waiting to be told what to think about this, whether Will Smith should be condemned or applauded for what he's done, or whether the whole thing was just a giant work to get people talking about an event that's slowly fading into irrelevance. I mean, I don't know, man, I've seen plenty of fights in my time, and this one looks pretty real to me. Chris looks pretty shook up by the whole thing, even though he's doing his best to hide it, and I don't think he's a good enough actor to fake something like this. And hey, it's not like Will Smith had a bad night. The guy picked up Best Actor for his role in King Richard, and after a decade of decline, nearly derailing his entire career trying to prop up his less talented son, not to mention some pretty embarrassing revelations about his personal life, well, it's nice to see the guy pick up some kind of win for once. But it does make me wonder what the long-term repercussions of this will be. Is this going to tarnish the reputation of Hollywood or enhance it? Are you fucking kidding? You'd have to get caught molesting farm animals to tarnish Hollywood's reputation at this point. No, what I suspect's actually going to happen is that more people are going to tune into next year's Oscars in the hopes of catching a similar confrontation. It's a bit like how some people watch Formula 1 races because they just want to see a spectacular crash. And Hollywood being the shameless, soulless, attention-hungry morons that they are, I wouldn't be surprised if some asshole tries to provoke another fight just to grab those all-important headlines. Or look on the bright side, maybe this is going to herald an exciting new era of blood sport style competition where nominees will literally have to fight each other in brutal televised carnage to decide who gets the next awards. And fuck me, that's one Oscars I'd actually bother to tune into. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.